Hey, what's up, everyone? We are live. In fact, not really. I'm Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
And I'm Amar, the founder of ZenMade.com.
It's pretty cool. So Amar and I know each other since what, 2014?
Yeah, 2014, maybe too late 2013. I forget exactly when the foundation started or kicked off or when we actually connected. But yeah, 8 years now, almost
Yeah,
almost a decade,
it
almost
took
a
us
decade.
8 years to start our own podcast, finally.
Yeah, crazy.
So um, we, I want to make it actionable for the users as well.
Hmm.
So we're gonna pick a topic and discuss this topic. That's kind of the format, right? There's no real
Yeah.
format beside that.
Yeah, I think that's how we'll just be like how we'll just be starting, and then I think we'll just see kind of where things go. Yeah, I mean, I think but both of us have quite a few people that will probably be listening like initially, and so we'll probably be asking for some feedback and seeing what people find like the most valuable, and then of course seeing what what the two of us enjoy. For those of you guys that don't know, Jeremy's been podcasting with Jack. What's Jack's last name?
Reamer.
Reamer for what, a couple of years now? You say 4 years or
Four.
something? For
I,
4 years.
in one of
So
our podcasts recently, I said, "Yeah, we've done like 200 episodes. That's about like 2 years." It's like, yeah, my math, like, holy hell!
yeah,
Like,
one
obviously,
episode
it's
every 3 days.
50 weeks, 52 weeks in a year. So it's like
Yeah.
almost like 4 years. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. If you guys want to go learn about cold email, yeah, check that out. So
I
yeah,
thought,
we're
I
gonna
thought we said no pitch. I mean, anyway.
we never discussed that. I'm out. I quit.
So if you are a maid owner, I think you should check out Amar's business. Actually, why don't we start by just describing just roughly, broad stroke or business and what we do.
Yeah. First couple of episodes, we should probably do that for sure. So,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So I run ZenMaid, which is a scheduling software for maid services. So we have customers in, I don't even know how many countries these days. Like there's probably 5 primary countries, but it's probably about 10 countries like total. So like global brand, and yeah, been doing this pretty much as long as I've known Jeremy. So it's been a slow burn, but consistent in everything. And so as listeners will learn as we talk about this more, we've got a team of close to 25 people that's been working remotely since 2013. And so yeah, it's funny. I don't even clean my own room, and somehow I help people clean entire homes. And so yeah, my mom likes to remind me of that a lot.
Do you speak often with your mom?
Yeah, right now, during the pandemic, probably the best thing that came out of the pandemic is I do a weekly Zoom call with my mom,
Oh, that's
dad,
so cool.
aunt, and uncle, and my sister. So there's usually 6 or 7 of us, and then like Fran will sit in, and so like every Sunday morning, like Saturday night for them, and yeah, it's been really nice.
So both our businesses are SaaS. Both our businesses are bootstrapped, right? There's no external funds, I believe, in any of the two business. My core team is we're currently 4. Next month, we're going to be 5. We should have been 6, but unfortunately, one of our rockstar developer left. Damn.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're building the team slowly. I think we got 2 or 3 external contractors doing, ad
Yeah.
hoc jobs for us.
And tell everyone what you actually do. You
Oh
just told them
yeah, I should
guys.
start with that, right? But I said it. I'm not the founder of QuickMail.io, so yeah, it's basically a cold email software, all automated outreach. So we automate your inbox, so it sends initial email and the follow up if people don't reply. So you get a lot more replies that way, and it scales. That's basically it. We got a lot of competitors actually in our market. It's just becoming a red ocean. When I started like 7 years ago, I could probably count on the number on my hand how many competitors I had, just because it was a brand new market. It's a bit
Yeah.
like a blue ocean at that stage. It was a blue ocean. It was the combination of email marketing automation, like marketing automation plus sales, and then that's how we actually came in, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. How
Yeah.
many competitors do you have, or like do you have like shit ton of competitors, or?
Mm,
because it's not a very sexy industry, right? Who actually is growing up saying like, well,
we've got
same
like,
for cold email.
yeah, I
I
mean,
presume.
it probably just depends on how generally you define a competitor, right? So, like, for example,
Oh,
for
yeah.
QuickMail back in the day, your competitor was actually a VA or someone doing the work themselves, like using Gmail. And so for us, when you look at the number of options that people have to use instead of ZenMaid, there's easily probably 20 or 30. But when you think about who are like the actual serious competitors, it's definitely less than 10. And most of those competitors, very few of them are specific to our industry. It's more services like Service Autopilot or Jobber, where they work with maid services, with electricians, with plumbers. They work with every like home service business with like one software platform. And so that's one of the big advantages that we have, running ZenMaid. And, the past couple of years now, I'd say I can think of maybe 5 or 6 niche softwares, but we're very much like the 900-pound gorilla or whatever. Like everyone's kind of gunning for us. So, but that has more to do with our marketing than it does with our size, right? That we're perceived to be much bigger than we actually are, but that's changing. But
Yeah.
that's changing. We're growing.
Yeah, and this is a good point as well. I mean, we also I think that what will make this podcast rich as well is we have really like 2 different approaches. I'm more
Yes.
the technical, trying to figure out how to do sales and marketing, and you're more the marketing primarily, right? Even though you've done a lot of sales, and then you're trying to figure out how to code.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not on your plan, is it?
It's not code. I did spend time learning to code like 5 years after we started the business, but it's more product. It's more product
Yeah,
than
yeah,
code,
that's true.
right? That like right now I'm in the middle of this big UI UX sprint. I'm reading about web design. I'm trying to figure out best practices. I'm trying to figure out how to visualize different information for the customers and everything. And so yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey for sure. I've got a lot of useful skills that I did not have when we started the company, and so that's been really really gratifying.
Quick question. Do you
Yeah,
think our relationship actually helped with the product side or not
yeah.
that much? Yeah, it did?
Definitely, definitely. It's funny
In what way?
actually.
Yeah.
So this is quite amusing. That you remember when we were in Belgrade that we sat down and we did a one-on-one hot seat at
Yes, I do
that
remember.
co-working space.
Mhm.
So I had completely forgotten about that, but recently I'd re-listened to it maybe like a year after we did it or something, because at this point that was like
Oh
3 or 4
yeah,
years
you
ago, right?
recorded it as well. I
Yeah, I
remember.
recorded it, right?
So
And so
cool.
I never use iTunes on my computer. And for some reason recently, one of my like new sets of Bluetooth headphones, when I like disconnect them and like reconnect them, it's automatically opening up iTunes, and that's
Yes.
the default audio file. So like I didn't realize it the first time, and all of a sudden I've got my headphones in, and like you start talking to me, and I was so confused. But yeah,
Excellent.
during that
Cool.
conversation, we talked a lot about hiring Alex, who's ZenMaid's current CTO. I remember that your advice on that actually was not to hire him, which we're not to hire
Uh,
him as CTO.
as CTO, yeah, I thought at
CTO.
that time he didn't have the CTO skills.
Yeah.
He clearly
And
proved me wrong, which is awesome. But
yeah, so I definitely decided differently, but I did re-listen to a bit of that interview, and like that was something that really jumped out to me, because what it was that I'm trying to think what were some of the things that you kind of like pointed out, but it was some of like the red flags that you talked about that really helped my thinking about how to approach it and how to kind of de-risk it and everything, about like kind of the communication, about the experience managing other people and what was going to be necessary. And I had a very frank conversation with them, setting expectations of like, hey,
nice.
right now, it's obvious, like you kind of promote you because like you're kind of like the senior dev, but you've got to realize that like, taking this position means that your role is going to change. And it's funny because now he has like 6 people that are reporting to him, and he's grown into it absolutely beautifully.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
I don't think I would have been in that mind space if had that mindset if we hadn't had that conversation. And that's just like one micro example, like we have conversations every single week,
That's
talking about
right.
this.
We have a mastermind. I think we'll
Oh,
talk about that at some point on the cast
yeah.
for sure. Um, You obviously helped me like tremendously, especially when it comes to engaging with the audience. I still not a marketing first by any mean, because that's I still prefer to code or
Yeah.
to do other things. But I do see the value and I see what's needed to be done, and
Mhm.
it's always a fantastic counterbalance to my tendency to do something else. So saving my ass plenty of times here. Um, yeah, even with recent hires as well. So thank you for that. One thing I also wanted to highlight in the differences between our businesses is that are you fully nomad, because you stay always like on Kofangan? So I'm not even sure this qualify as being really nomadic at that point. It's like
Yeah.
there's two places on earth I can find you, which is Kofangan and Chiang Mai. So I don't know
Yeah.
that qualifies as nomad.
I yeah, actually this is what I was going to say before we started recording. So I consider myself to be location independent now. So for those of you guys that just are listening to this, that you've got us, in your headphones right now, maybe you aren't watching the video. I don't know if we're going to publish like the video
Yeah, we
of
will
these.
for sure.
Okay, cool. But I am in Kopangan, like right in front of the beach, that I've been doing the nomad thing for like 5 or 6 years now. And so I would say that I was nomadic, because for 5 of those years, pretty much until the pandemic hit, I was rotating between Thailand, the US, and Europe, right? And so I never spent more than 90 days anywhere. And like most people be surprised that there was 1 year that I spent 6 months in Thailand in those like 5, and that was 3 separate trips of like 1.5 to 2 months, right? Whereas now
Speaking
I've got the
older.
long term. Yeah, right. You want to settle down. I mean, even for this podcast, I was just telling my wife like before this that one of the things that I'm looking forward to, because we go back to Chiang Mai in about 5 days and are going to sign a year-long lease, is I'm going to get
Oh,
a good microphone and like get like the actual podcast like setup. Whereas before, it never made sense to really like to do that and everything. And so yeah, I would say location independent now, which I see for a lot of people, that most people don't take advantage of being location independent. I feel like I definitely have, and like Jeremy, I feel like you definitely do. Like even though you spend a lot of time, at home, like with your family and everything, you do make it a point to travel, to Japan. Like what is it, like once a year, whatever
Twice.
that you do, twice a year, right?
Yeah.
That you are like traveling, and you take advantage of the fact that you working from anywhere, that the business does like run without you if you want to go somewhere. So that's kind of the distinction that I make these days.
Yeah, I like to think of, for me, I tried the nomadic stuff. Doesn't really work quite well for me. I like to have a base where I can go back and refill my batteries, but
Mhm.
along, going away and then exploring actually not necessarily exploring, but change of scenery. So
Yeah.
that's why I go in Japan. I go twice a year because there's two best time of the year to go to Japan, which is April
Cherry
and
blossom season, right?
yeah, exactly. And then the October one when there's like
Got
Indian summer. Those two
Okay.
seasons are absolutely perfect to go in Japan. And then from time to time in February when it's dead freezing in Europe, then I go to Thailand and Chiang Mai and meet
Hang out
some
with
good
me.
friends there.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. You're on my list actually. Whenever I move in the world, people has to know that I ask Amar where the hell he is. That's why I ended up in Belgrade. Otherwise,
Yeah, there's
never
no way.
we
Yeah.
never go there. It's like whenever did you hear like, oh, this famous dish is from Belgrade. It's like no, and the
No.
location has to speak to my stomach, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Mm. And in fact, you've never been to Japan, so I need to bring you there at
Yeah,
some point.
it's high on the list, particularly now that we're like based in Thailand and
Mm.
everything. So, yeah, I'm sort of the same way as you in terms of. So for me, I find that being in different environments, it really helps to fuel like my creativity and like my problem solving, right? And like I don't consider myself a creative person, but I do think when it comes to business, I do have like quite creative ideas about, different marketing things and different things like that. And so I find that changing environments and changing where I am really helps with that. That like I hate that feeling of that kind of like Groundhog Day where just every day kind of feels the same. And that's kind of how I've felt having a base before. And I think the pandemic really changed that a lot. That during the pandemic, I was based in Scotland for like 5 straight months, which was the longest I'd been anywhere in 6 years and everything. And so, yeah, for me, I also think that those new experiences also fuel me quite a lot, that because I'm very extroverted, that my wife Fran, like she definitely needs to kind of have like that home base, or just kind of that comfort place that she can go to just like recharge her batteries, and then
Yeah.
like go out and like continue taking over the world or whatever.
It's funny you're mentioning the Groundhog Day. I see it more like as, as a, athletic sport stuff. You redo the same thing to become better at that stuff. But of course, if this is like numb, what is it, like
Numbing. Yeah.
numbing or stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's not something you want to do anyway. And we got the luxury, as founder, to just go and do something, which in sometimes is a good thing, and sometimes is not a good thing, because some people should be doing some of the stuff, and in fact
Yeah.
they just like procrastinate because they can. If they
Mhm.
had the boss telling them like, you have to do that, then they'll go ahead and then push themselves and do it, which is funny. Like,
Yeah.
as a founder, we should be able to push ourselves and say, this is what the business needs, so
Yeah.
therefore that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that definitely hits home. For me, the one of the biggest reasons that I actually started ZenMade was because I was doing tech sales like in San Francisco, and um, I enjoy doing sales. I'm good. I'm like decent at doing sales, like better than average, but probably not better than like the average like actual like salesperson, right? Who's made it their profession and everything. And the problem was that felt too much like Groundhog Day, right? That I do actually
Yeah.
have ADD, and I looked at building a business as like, this is constantly new challenges, that for me, once I have something figured out to the point that like it's working, then I want to hire someone to come in and to take that over, so then I can move on to the new challenge to do or whatever. And so that's what made the first few years of building ZenMade so challenging, that I didn't have any help for the first 3 or 4 years before we hired Chris. And so it was like I could keep stacking
I
on new
remember
skills.
Chris.
Yeah, like new things that I was doing and that I was learning, but I still had to constantly like take care of actually working in the business and like answering support tickets and stuff like that. And so yeah, let's just say I'm glad that I'm past that point these days.
Um, Another thing that we could say to the listener as well that is different between you and me is, you're mentioning you have a wife. I also have a wife, but I also have like 2 kids. That's a bit
Yes.
different. My kids are about 14 and 11 years old. So they're still in that young age where, daddy still counts. But
Yeah.
I
Well, I
probably have
mean,
still 4 more years or
you
six
made
and
the mistake of
on.
legally acknowledging them. I just neglect mine and problem solve.
You got 6 kids in Thailand somewhere.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be
no, I
bad.
think we're a couple years away from that, but we will be looking at having a family here like
Right.
at some point in the near future. But yeah, you're right. That is definitely like an
It
important
is life
difference.
changing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
big difference.
I've heard a lot of a lot of stuff about how that changes you, like when like particularly if you're a founder, and how a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you don't understand like the 80-20 rule until you have kids, and like all of a sudden all of your free time is gone.
Yeah, it's I would say it creeps on you. It's like it starts small. It's like, oh look, it's sleeping. And then soon and soon they grab more of your attention, and they take the finger, then the
Yeah.
hand, then the arm, and it's like, holy shit, it's too late. But it's like one of those masochistic, kind of thing. Like, you actually love the pain that it creates. It's kind of thing like that. You get used to that, and you
Yeah.
start to enjoy it. But
Yeah.
anyhow, this is not a children, podcast, but it is possible to create a business while having a family. I actually didn't want to sacrifice my family time, yet I had like a full-time job. So I just woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and just called Australia for 2 hours before doing my full-time job as an employee. So depends what you want to sacrifice. And I decided to sacrifice my evenings during the week. Right. So it's how strongly do you want it? I think that's also some interesting thing. For me, I really wanted like very strongly, because I didn't see me as a developer and 50 years old, 55 years old. It's like, it's not a great place to be as a developer, I would say. You got so many youngsters that comes out of school that cost like 4 times less in terms of salary, and and are more motivated, and won't be as challenging when it comes to management and stuff.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of benefits in getting new people. For you, at what time did you take it like quote unquote seriously? right? Because from the outside, it's like, oh, this is this cool guy, just doing his stuff, going from island to island and stuff like that. And now it's like a big and serious business. But the question is like, did you ever take it seriously? And I know you did, but at what point did you actually switch, or was it always serious for you? Like there is no
No,
alternative, like me.
it was always serious for me. That for ZenMaid, I definitely saw ZenMaid as kind of my way out, or like my escape from the 9 to 5. That I didn't really think that I was going to get a better like chance anytime soon than what ZenMaid presented me when when my friend and co-founder Arun approached me to partner on this. Of course, you've met Arun multiple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I always took it very very seriously. But I also think that a lot of people think that they can sort of like, I don't want to say hustle their way, but to me, I felt that there was a timing to it, that both in terms of like how fast Arun was moving, and where we sort of were with the business in terms of how many new customers we could bring on and stuff like that. So for me, I was very patient with it. And I think from the outside, that might have looked like I wasn't taking it seriously, but it was more just because a lot of the stuff that I was doing was very much behind the scenes, right? It was taking care of like, the support questions, right? It was beginning to build our community, right? It was, whenever someone had a question that had anything to do with their maid service, if I didn't know the answer, I would get on Google, I would ask other people, and I would try to figure out, why might you use like independent contractors versus employees? And then I was creating content around that. But I think honestly, a lot of what it came down to was, after our initial cold email outreach back in the day, the vast majority of the things that we were doing were much more like longer term plays. It was content marketing, it was SEO, right? It was building relationships with influencers and stuff. And so because of that, I mean, we've talked about this before. It took us 38, 39 months to get to $10,000 a month in recurring revenue, right? It was a very, very long time, but it was very, very consistent. That in the beginning, it was literally like $50 to $60 a month. But then, the last couple of months before we hit that 10K, we were growing at, $500, $600 month over month. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I definitely took it like very, very seriously, because I definitely realized that I was going to be miserable if I had to keep doing sales, right? So the main like saving grace there was that I knew that because I was taking it seriously, I was giving myself a good position, like putting myself in a good position to get a solid marketing job. And I think that's kind of what had me taking it seriously the entire time, even when maybe the numbers didn't make sense, right? Because when you've worked on a business for 3 years and it's, it's making what, 7-8K a month, and we're paying ourselves like $1,000 a month and didn't pay ourselves for the first 2 years, it can be very, very depressing.
Yeah, that's right. And the first time I kind of met you, I didn't think you were taking your business seriously. But
Yeah.
I think there are two factors to this one. The first one is the context in which we met. Like, I was working like really incredibly hard. Like, it's this famous quote, like, work 80 hours a week in order not to work 40 hours a week.
For someone else, yeah, 80 hours for yourself. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was very much in this, but whenever, I went to those sort of like retreats with other founders and stuff like that, I kind of like switch in a different mode, like the mode like, oh, finally, it's like vacation for me. I get to, speak, enjoy, and socialize a bit more. And of course, someone seeing me like that say like, he's probably not working that hard on his business. But in fact, I was working extremely hard. So I think that was the first thing. The second thing is that you're much more joyful person to be around than I am. I'm like more cynical sometimes, or I have like a different strange taste of humor. And whenever you're close to someone, everyone just lights up, and it doesn't make you feel like this guy is really serious and working hard on his stuff. But knowing you or from the outside, and getting the chance to meet you every week, I can definitely see how serious you take your business, even though you don't work the same way that I do. And I think it's really awesome.
Yeah. And I think I always wanted I always wanted it to be like that, like I always wanted to be just like the happy-go-lucky, like life of the party guy. And like I always tried to bring that to the table no matter how I was feeling like about the business, like just always being like positive. And like one of the things that I really like that I've been like told is, you know, in the past like 2 years or so, the business has really taken off, right? Just financially, I'm in a completely different place than I was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
But if you ask anyone, like I'm not any different. I haven't changed, right? Like I still show up like the same way. I still like same sense
Gold
of humor.
watches, you know, just
yeah. I was
your
already
Ferrari just park outside.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I haven't changed, man. I'm still the same.
Now I own the assets instead of in debt for them.
But the other thing as well is that I come from, again, I think the background also is very helpful, is that I come from a developer standpoint. And for me, you can't do any work unless you block a solid 4 hours of work.
Yes,
you know?
That's a very good point.
And you are more into, you know, marketing and sales and into emails, which is very interruption driven. And so, you know, for that actually makes sense, because in a lot of companies, the developer thinks, you know, very lowly, or I'm not sure if this is, you know, in English, but they always like look up on salespeople and all those business people, because we don't see them working, right? They keep on doing one thing, then move to the other one. And for us, it's like, are you not working, kind of thing? But so
exactly. That's a really, really good point. Interrupt driven is definitely the best way, to describe it, is that in a 2-hour period, I might send an email, write a blog post, you know, send out like a tweet. It's a lot of just communication, right? But then like I also might sit down and make a decision with the team on like one thing or another. And that's something that a lot of people have a lot of trouble doing, right? That I can jump in to a channel and talk with our developers and then go right back to working on a marketing campaign, and then, you know, take a sales call like 10 minutes later. And, you know, I'm sure I'd be more effective if I just focused on like one of those things, but it's just not the way that my brain works, you know? So yeah, that's a very, very good good point.
Well, I think that could be it for the first episode. What do you think? Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, yeah, for anyone like listening to this, you know, you can find us both on Twitter, or however you found, you know, this podcast. Since this is obviously a very early episode, just like reach out to us, like let us know what you want us to chat about and everything. I think that especially here, I think that we've actually like shared a lot, and like hopefully we have some people that are prodding us to kind of go down some of these rabbit holes, right? Because there are a ton of differences in the way that we think about things, and I think that's what's going to make this really, really interesting.
Yeah, and to double down on this one, it also means that not really matter where you're coming from or your context, you know, you can still make it work, because, you know, both Amar and I have very successful businesses, and Amar's got a more successful business than mine for now.
You're more profitable. Like we make more money overall, but you get more money in your personal accounts.
So see,
than I do.
another difference. And
wait till I sell. As soon as I sell, if I sell before you, I'm gonna be like, look, Jeremy,
that's gonna be interesting.
More money.
to think about those topics. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the first episode. Do not hesitate to leave a comment if you're watching us on YouTube, or just contact us, like Amar said. Not sure what your Twitter handle is. My one is very difficult. It's my first name letter, and then I think it's my full surname. So it's J Chatelain. Yeah. Anyway, just search for my name.
Mine's so much simpler. It's just Amar. But the whole thing is like it's spelled out. So it's ITSJUSTAMAR. Every time I say like, oh, it's just Amar, people are like, holy shit, how did you get the Amar handle on Twitter? And I'm like, no, I regret this already. Like it's spelled out. So, you know,
there you go.
Drop us a DM, let us know.
All right. Cool stuff. Catch you next time.